Guys, are we ready for spring? It's just around the corner. And last week I did my designer for men spring fragrances. Today we're doing my niche video. Most of these are unisex fragrances. There's a few that are targeted specifically to men, but we know about niche, they're all very unisex. So if you want to find out about these fragrances, then please stay tuned. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Sebastian with Smelling Great Fragrance Reviews. Yes, that's right. Today we're talking about niche fragrances for spring. 20 different fragrances, 20 unique styles, all perfect for spring. Some might be a little stronger than others, but some might be more lighter, but I think it's because spring, you go through many different types of weather. It starts off cool and then it warms up, so you can kind of rotate between these fragrances. But if this is your first time tuning into my channel and you love watching fragrance reviews, finding out about new fragrances, discovering new brands, and of course participating in giveaways, and still haven't subscribed, please click the subscribe button below and also click the bell so you'll be notified for future videos and giveaways. Let's jump right into it. And we're going to start off right off the bat with a fragrance from a house called ORIZA LEGRAND. If you've been following me, you know this house, Chypre Mousse, and a few other fragrances I've spoken about on this channel, but this one is spring in a bottle, and it's called DEJA le Printemps. This one right here basically translates to already spring, and this one is one that I fell in love with when I went to their store last May, on May Day. Well, not on May Day, just a couple of days before, but it was around May Day, and I fell in love with it because it was actually spring in a bottle, exactly what it says. It says already spring, and what the notes are in here are fig leaf, grass, clover, mint, chamomile, cedarwood. Very, very springy, very fresh, refreshing, and green. Aromatic notes come to mind as well. A lovely, lovely fragrance. I love it. I'm glad I have a bottle of it. And again, this is DEJA le Printemps from the house of ORIZA LEGRAND. A great house. Stay tuned for more videos about this house. Next, going to a house called FREDERIC MALLE, whom you all know about. And this is Rose and CUIR, this one right here. And Rose and CUIR is exactly that, rose and leather. And the rose in here, actually it's interesting, it's a very vegetal rose, and the rose is an accord created from the geranium that's in here. It's a lovely, lovely fragrance, but with this one, I didn't fall in love with it right away. In fact, I kind of hated it at first, but I kept coming back to it over and over again, really enjoying it and appreciating the way it smells. The leather is not overly leathery, it's aromatic. If it seems like both the leather and the rose are both from accords, and I feel like the leather is created from saffron. I don't see saffron listed in the notes, but it doesn't really act like a really heavy, dense, overwhelming leather. So the combination is great, and I feel like it's perfect for spring. So Rose and CUIR from FREDERIC MALLE is one for you to try. Now this is a new pickup for me. It's from the house of MAISON KURKDJIAN, one of my favorite houses. This is Gentle Fluidity Gold. This is a very unique amber, very woody, and I feel like there's a lot of ambroxan in here, and maybe there is not, but I feel like it's in there. But there's lots of vanilla, there's amber, there's musk, woody notes, juniper berries, and it's not a Grand Soir, it's not Absolute Pour Soir. It's more of a lighter take on amber and an aromatic take on amber. Very great fragrance. I love it. In fact, I prefer this one over the silver, the Gentle Fluidity Silver, but the silver is kind of growing on me, so I'm enjoying it. But still, this one is my favorite out of the two. So this is MAISON KURKDJIAN Gentle Fluidity Gold. Next, going to a house called JACQUES. This is LODEN, this one right here. What an awesome vetiver fragrance this is. I'm obsessed with this vetiver fragrance. I like it because it's bitter, it's earthy, it's a little damp and moist, how a vetiver is typically like that. But there's a little zingy touch in there with the ginger and some spices with the pink pepper. Very, very great fragrance. And don't want to forget the patchouli in here as well, because the patchouli is great. And there is a little bit of an underlying tobacco note, but it's mostly about that damp, earthy vetiver. I really love it. And this is LODEN from the house of JACQUES. Next, a fragrance I reviewed on January 1st, New Year's Day. This is Mile High from Parle de Parfum. So this one is a very unique concoction to me. I like it because it's got that grassy, caramelly, earthy immortelle note, along with that juicy, wet, sweet pineapple note. with some tonka beans and patchouli thrown in, and you've got a great combination. It's a weird combination, but a combination that works. It's a contrasting combination, that juicy, syrupy pineapple, the sweet pineapple with that dry immortelle works great. No, it doesn't smell like Aventus, but a very unique fragrance. I love it. This is Parle Moi de Parfum Mile High. 5 down and 15 to go. This is from the house of Goldfield and Banks. This is Southern Bloom. I don't have a lot of floral fragrances in this video, and there's a theme here. It's a very green list, but this one actually is a floral fragrance. Of course, it's utilizing Boronia, which is native to Australia, I believe. So it's also got coconut, cassis, iris, sandalwood, amber. It's a beautiful fragrance to wear. I feel like it's very springy because of that Boronia note, and the coconut adds very light beachy quality to the fragrance, but the fruity cassis note is quite lovely, and the color, as you can see, really complements the cassis note, and I feel like that's what you're getting with this fragrance. So there's a fruity touch in the fragrance, but a wonderful release. I feel like it's perfect for spring. This is Southern Bloom from the house of Goldfield and Banks. Next, going to Parfums DUSITA. This is their latest fragrance, Le Pavillon d'Or, this one right here. It's a very unique fragrance for me. This one has actually taken a lot of time for me to warm up to, but it's really wonderful release. It's utilizing fig leaf again. There's, did we mention fig leaf already? Yeah, we did. This one also has oak. There's orris for a iris type of a note here. There's thyme, there's Boronia again, mint and honeysuckle. So the notes don't seem like they're going to work together, and in fact when I first smelled it, it wasn't like jumping out at me, but the more I've started spraying it on, the more I'm appreciating and loving it, and I feel like it's perfect for spring. It's not overly light, like that's perfect for summer. It's also not overly heavy, so it's perfect for spring, and I love fig in the springtime anyway. So this is Pavillon d'Or from the house of Parfums DUSITA, another great fragrance for you to try. Now this next one is, let's see where it is, it's right here. This is from the house of État Libre d'Orange, and this is Una Mourette, Roland Mouret. What a great fragrance this is. I really love this one. It's woody and lots of neroli and iris with vanilla in it. In fact, I'm actually obsessed with this fragrance. There's a few fragrances that the main man behind the brand, État Libre d'Orange, I did a video with him. Etienne is his name, Etienne Sword. I did a video with him at a Lucky Scent scent bar in New York City last November. If you're curious, go watch it. He speaks about this fragrance in that video. And since that time I met him, I fell in love with it, so I had to get a bottle of it. But it's a wonderful release. It's got a little bit of a patchouli backbone as well. There's lots of woody touches, and then it's brightened up with a neroli. That neroli just is really refreshing, and I feel like neroli, orange blossom is perfect for spring because that's when you start smelling those flowers from those citrus fruits. Anyway, Un Amourette Roland Mouret is a great fragrance. Check it out if you don't know it. So this next one is one that I've been dying to speak about, and I love it. It's one of my favorite fragrances from this house. It's L'Artisan Parfumé Feu d'Absinthe, this one right here. So absinthe, ouzo, arak, and all those kind of drinks are stuff that I really like. Pastis, I really love those when it's really hot outside and you can kind of drink this like very licoricey, anisey drink. So this one actually has what do you call it, wormwood, which is what's used for absinthe, and it also has lots of green notes with pine tree needles and balsam fir. There's a star anise note to accentuate the wormwood note in here as well. But lovely fragrance. I feel like it's perfect for spring. It's definitely very green, but it's also very woody and aromatic. Really great fragrance from, I believe this is Olivia Jacobetti who created this one. So this is Feu d'Absinthe from L'Artisan Parfumé. Now this next one, I gotta tell you a little story about it. It's Rogue Perfumery's Mousse ILLUMINEE. So I don't know if you guys have noticed, I've been sitting a little sideways. 2 weeks ago, tomorrow, I went on a hiking trip in Central Valley near where my mom lives, and I took this bottle with me, and I shot a bunch of photos on different places around this like beautiful trail of forest, because this is known for oak moss. And well, I brought back with me something I didn't really want, and I'm very, very sensitive to this particular thing, poison oak. So I got poison oak rash all over the side of my neck. So I was sitting sideways. I think it's mostly gone 2 weeks later almost, but it's been a bit of a nightmare, and I haven't been able to shoot a lot of videos because of the rash. Well, anyway, that's already done with, but this going through the trouble of taking photos of bottles is a little bit of a challenge lately. But this is such a great fragrance. It is known for the oak moss and lots of oak moss, but this is a velvety, smooth, creamy oak moss with lots of artemisia. There's a cypress note. There's lots of white flowers. There is a little bit of an incensey touch in here as well. But a beautiful, beautiful fragrance. What a wonderful fragrance. I've turned this on to a lot of people, and thanks to Dahlia, who brought it in one day. She had bought it from Etsy, and I bought mine from Lucky Scent Bar in New York City. It's a wonderful release. Check it out. Rogue Perfumery Mousse ILLUMINEE. Thankfully, the poison oak is almost gone because the itch is really, really bad, and I'm very, very sensitive. I've had it throughout my lifetime many times. This is probably the 6th or 7th time. So not many times, but quite a bit of times, and I don't like it. So it seems like lavender is kind of trendy lately, and this one I wanted to feature in here. It's from an indie house, Imaginary Authors, and this is Telegramma, and I've seen a lot of lavender. I'm speaking about lavender fragrances. In fact, I did the aromatic fragrances video recently. If you haven't caught that, do check it out. And also I did a video review, the 10-year anniversary of Houbigant's Fougère Royale. Check those videos out. They should be on the channel. But Telegramma is a wonderful lavender-focused fragrance, and this is a very powdery take on lavender because it's got talc note in the notes. There's also a lavender. There's a teak wood note in here, and somebody was recently asking in my Facebook group what teak wood fragrances are ones that I know or people know about, and I'm not too familiar with this note. I should research, but it is prominent here. In fact, you can pick it up in there, but it's a great release from the House of Imaginary Authors. There's also a wonderful vanilla note in here that does have a sweeter touch to it. There's amyris, linen, and black pepper to add some spice to it. But I think this is mostly about that powdery talc note and the lavender and how they work well together. It's beautiful. It's a great fragrance. It is powdery though. Gotta love powdery fragrances, but it is wonderful, and I think this is perfect for spring. So Imaginary Authors, Telegramma is another one for you to try. Next one is from the House of Rosendo Matu. We're going to Amber again. This is number 5, and this is a wonderful, beautiful, gentle, and elegant amber note with a beautiful musk in there. Just so beautiful. So there's amber, there's vanilla, there's some floral touches, there's musk, spices. It's to die for. This is the kind of fragrance I like to wear because I try on a lot of fragrances, and sometimes I'm getting overwhelmed with wearing too much. So everyday wear, I feel like I want not so overwhelming, like really heavy with longevity and projection and sillage. I want something a little more subdued, and this is definitely that. It has lots of ambery touches. Of course, it's an amber with vanilla. There's the floral notes, and it's really, really sexy musk in here, and that's what I like to wear over and over again. It's gorgeous. So check it out, Rosendo Matu number 5. Now this next one is from the House of Raja Parfums. This specifically is targeted to men, but you know, it's an aromatic fougère fragrance, but I think confident women should be able to pull it off. This is Scandal Pour Homme Parfum Cologne. I'm obsessed with the Scandal Pour Homme Parfum Cologne. In fact, I feel like this is my favorite of all of the Parfum Colognes he launched recently. It just works great. And in fact, Scandal as a fragrance, Scandal Pour Homme as a fragrance from Raja Parfums is a great fragrance, but it wasn't one of my favorite fragrances. But I'm obsessed with the Cologne version more than the original version. I don't know why. There's something about the freshness in here that is really kind of invigorating and refreshing, but it has some deep roots there, like the oak moss and lavender and lemons. Lemons are more like a top note. In fact, what's happened here is they've like amped up the top notes of the citruses, so you get a lot more of those, but it does dry down to wonderful oak mossy base. It's beautiful. Scandal Pour Homme Parfum Cologne is an awesome one for you to try. Now this next one is, if I can find it, it's right here. It is Portrayal Man from the house of Amouage. Now this one is probably more intense for spring, but I feel like the notes are springy. What's happening here is violet leaves. You've got juniper, and then you also have vetiver, and those are the only notes. But when you're wearing it, it does get spicy. It does get a little bit of cuminy. I don't think there's cumin credited in the notes, but on my skin, I can see or feel, experience the cumin in there. It could also be caraway seeds, or it could be just like a chord created with the notes that they're using in here. But it's wonderful. It's very green. It's very ozonic, slightly aquatic, but intense. Very unique fragrance for me. If you like fragrances that feature violet leaves, I do have a full video on the channel on this particular note. And Fahrenheit from Dior uses the violet leaf note. So if you know what that smells like, you know what you're going to get here with Amouage's Portrayal Man. So that's another great fragrance for you to try. And speaking of ozonic fragrances, I have one more here, and this is also targeted to men. Now these last three fragrances are specifically targeted to men, but there's really no gender behind these fragrances. This is Ganymede from Marc-Antoine Barrois. Ganymede. This is also ozonic, aquatic, but when I say aquatic, it's not, you know, seawater, it's not marine notes, it's just watery. It's minerally, there's Immortelle, there's violet leaves, mandarin orange, there's a very sexy musk under there. Really wonderful fragrance to wear. It's dry. The Immortelle is pretty prominent, but the violet leaves also are very prominent, and it's really great to wear. There is a osmanthus note in here along with the other notes that I mentioned, and it adds this like a fruitiness to the fragrance, which I really love. It's almost like a crunchy apple in there. Really delicious fragrance. Ganymede from Marc-Antoine Barrois. A very lovely fragrance, perfect for spring. Even though that Immortelle note has come up again, and it's a very dry note, I feel like dry notes are better for fall, but it works great in the spring. I discovered it in the spring and I love it. Going to the house of MIZENSIR, and this is For Your Love, this one right here. Now I wanted to include something in here that is in that Baccarat Rouge styling. This one has that a little bit in there, but it's not quite Baccarat Rouge. It's very sexy to me. Lots of sex in this bottle. Patchouli, Cachalox, which is a synthetic form of ambergris, benzoin, exaltone, which is a synthetic form of musk, and a fruity raspberry note. Imagine that fruity raspberry note that's in Portrait of Lady here with not ambergris, but like an ambroxan type note, the Cachalox, and the patchouli and the exaltone. It's to die for combination. Really lovely. And the trail this leaves is phenomenal. On me, I can smell it on me, and somebody else wears it. In the heat, no. In the humidity, there's not much going to be in the spring, but some places do get the humidity. This thing comes alive. Anyway, MIZENSIR, For Your Love. Awesome fragrance. Now this next one is a fragrance from the house of Xerjoff. This is Kobe, this one right here. So Kobe is a beautiful neroli orange blossom petitgrain combination with also the orange fruit. There's also bergamot, there's rosewood, there's benzoin. The benzoin throws in the resinous sweet vanillic touch, and it kind of makes the fragrance heavier. Otherwise, it's all very fresh and floral notes. So the rosewood also gives it a dense quality to it. So if you like the idea of the green notes of petitgrain, the floral notes of the neroli and orange blossom, along with the citrus orange and bergamot, but you want it heavier, you want it lasting longer, this is it right here. It's a great release. This is Kobe from the house of Xerjoff. It's a great scent for spring, I think, because the benzoin and the rosewood actually makes it a little more heavier and intense, and it's perfection. It lasts longer. Now this next one is from the house of Diptyque, and this is Eau Capitale, this one right here. And Eau Capitale is a chypre fragrance utilizing rose and lots of patchouli, lots of rose, lots of patchouli. There's the pink pepper that's spicy in here and the green bergamot note, and the together is a wonderful combination. Now what I like about this one is if you remove that rose, you kind of pretty much are left with something that smells like Tempo from the same house. So if you like Tempo, it's very green. This is a very green fragrance. It's a chypre, as I said. The only thing that's missing is it's a chypre. They claim it's a chypre, but there's no oak moss. But I do smell some oak mossy something in there. So I guess they don't really have to put oak moss in there. They can make it smell like oak moss, and then they can call it just chypre. Because typically in a chypre, oak moss is in the base. But whatever it is, it smells phenomenal. I love it. There's some classic touches, there's some modern touches, but a wonderful release. This is Eau Capitale from the house of Diptyque. Really, really quality fragrance. I love Diptyque and the direction they're going. They're making some great, great fragrances. So this next one is from the house of Nichane. This is Hachivat. I had to put this one on here. I think it's great for spring. Even though it's a freshie, it's so strong. So in the spring you have the cooler days, but you still want some intensity. And I did say I don't like it as intense because I'm smelling so much stuff, but I really love this. I love it. It smells great. The oak moss and the pineapple and all that, the notes. I believe this is also considered a chypre because it has the bergamot at the top and the oak moss in the base. But it's a very, very modern chypre to me, and it smells wonderful. It's a little goes a long way with this one because it is an extrait de parfum concentration, and it's a phenomenal fragrance. Check it out. This is Nichane Hachivat. It's a wonderful release. All year round you can wear that and just make a statement and attract people that really will complement your fragrance. And we're going to end the list with one fragrance from the house of Atelier des Ors. This is Crépuscule des Âmes, this one right here. So this one is a very, very interesting animalic fragrance because it smells sexy and it doesn't really smell animalic, even though they're using a note called Hyrax. And this is one of my least favorite notes in perfumery because it can smell like, I don't want to say the word, but it could smell like pretty much. But the Hyrax here is, I don't know what it is. It's toned down or what's going on, but Hyrax, clary sage, mandarin orange, cardamom. Wow, it is so freaking sexy. It's musky, it's aromatic, it's spicy, citrusy, to die for. It's to die for. And again, as I said, I don't like Hyrax in perfumes as much, even fragrances that utilize this so dominantly. And they use it here, but it's the toned down version of Hyrax, I guess, because whatever Hyrax they're using here, combined with the other notes I read to you, is really, really sexy. It's strong, but not too strong. It's light, but not too light. It's a perfect, perfect fragrance to wear in the spring. Anyway, that's Atelier des Ors Crépuscule des Âmes, and that wraps up my list today, the 20 fragrances for spring from the niche houses. I know you guys like niche fragrances, and I hear from you guys that you like it when I speak about fragrances that not a lot of other channels are speaking about, and I want to kind of keep it that way, although I do want to pull in good designer fragrances, but I do want to specifically focus on niche and indie fragrances because there are houses out there that are not so well known or that need to be discovered, and I want to give it to you guys. But let me know your thoughts on this list. Do you like these fragrances? Are you a fan of them or are you not? And what are you wearing this spring from the niche and indie houses? Please put a comment down so that I find out. If you have any of these fragrances or have been wanting them, also please let me know. Put a comment down so that I can find out. Other than that, thanks so much for watching today. Hope everyone's having a great day. Please like this video, please share it. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye.